Hello, everyone. I'm bringing you something a little bit different now. We have done lots of success stories. I know that many of you have been enjoying them. We've had some fabulous comments about them. So thank you for supporting all of those that have come on and done those kinds of interviews with me. However, we're going to do something a little bit different for this, what we're calling a lunch and learn. So waiting in the wings in the background, I have got 3 fabulous students that have been through one-to-many that are going to come and discuss with you how they found the programme and what it sort of looks and feels like on the inside. So it's absolutely incredible that so many of our students come out of one-to-many and want to share their success stories and share their massive financial wins and all of these things. But also there's lots of other different ways that people feel like they gain and win and can take so much from this process. And not all of those things are financial, some of them are. So let's see where this session takes us. But I would love to introduce you to, I will bring them in, Katie, Richard, and Jen. Right, everyone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, I'm going to start with you, Katie, because I can just move around the screen that way. Can you just let everybody know who you are, introduce yourselves and what it is that you do?
So I'm Katie Chapman. I'm a mum of 2 and I've worked for myself for the past 10 years. I work predominantly in network marketing. I love it. That's what I've done for 10 years. But I also have a secondhand clothing business, which is what led me to one-to-many. And out of that, I run Project Preloved.
Thank you. And Richard?
Hi everyone. I'm a teacher and tutor, and that's what I originally used one-to-many for, to boost the tuition business. But I quickly moved into supporting tutors and teachers around the UK, and that's what I've been pretty much focused on the last sort of 3 years or so.
Thank you. And Jen?
Hi, yeah. I am irregular. I'm a bit weird. I'm I'm a performing artist and a writer. I'm an activist and I'm the founder of the International Day of Consent, which isn't what you think it is, but maybe I can explain that in a bit. And I came into one-to-many mainly to get more of a reach with my activist message and reach more people, and also to do that in a way that meant I was no longer scrabbling around for every little pot of funding like anyone in the not-for-profit sector knows about. The funding is getting less and less and less and more competitive, and I wanted to be more self-sustaining financially. So that's what brought me into one-to-many.
Lovely, because I was going to ask that next. So Katie, let me come back to you. Why did you want to go into one-to-many?
So if I rewind like a tiny bit, way back, I really wanted a secondhand pre-loved business, probably like 12 odd years ago. And then when I went on maternity leave 10 years ago, I was just like, right, now's my chance to kind of break out of working for somebody else. I'm going to set up this business I've always wanted. But really, I was like, actually, I'm going to probably need a shop. I'm going to need to have the overheads of a shop, sit in a shop. And I was like, that isn't what I want right now. I want to enjoy being a mum. I wanted more children. So I wanted the like freedom and flexibility to do that, but I did want to work. So that's how I got into network marketing at the time. And, you know, I've always loved the scaling of that, being able to grow outside me. And I grew one of the biggest networks in the UK. So I really love that business. And then probably about 2 years ago, when both my kids were at school and, you know, my business was quite secure, my income was secure, I was like, I'm going to start my secondhand clothing business because I could see by then how I could do it like socially on Instagram, you know, pop-ups and that type of thing. But I was very quickly like overwhelmed by the demand for me. Like so many people were asking me to sell their clothes, which was fantastic. But what was meant to be this like small kind of like sideline project was just becoming bigger and bigger. And of course, I couldn't actually sell clothes for everybody. And I was getting requests from like all over the UK and really realizing how big that problem is of like how many millions of clothes there are that need rehoming. So I've never been somebody who wants to employ somebody. I don't want a boss. I don't want to be somebody's boss. So it was kind of like, what do I do with this? Because I don't want to just say no to people. I want to offer a solution, but I felt like you need like another 200 of me, but how do I do that, you know? And it was just, so I felt really stuck. It was about this time last year, and I saw somebody on Instagram share something. She might have talked about recurring revenue, and I was just at a time where I was just like, you just need to look at stuff. And I remember them saying, just trust the process on the kind of week challenge.
Yeah.
And literally have like light bulb moment that I was like, okay, I teach people what I do to do the same. And I was like, I already do that in my other business. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, and that's how and in that moment I had the idea. In that first challenge week, I did the program then to learn how to do it, because that's what I didn't know.
Well, great. I'm going to come back to you to sort of discuss what it looked and felt like within the program for you. But before I do, I'm going to just say to you, Richard, what were you hoping to get out of One to Many? What did you go in for?
I think I was probably like many going into the challenge. Like I wasn't sure what it was going to be. Like I knew in my head that I wanted to reach more children and families who needed help, needed that tuition. It's a weird one, because I think a lot of teachers go into teaching with that mindset of they want to help as many people as possible, and there's a particular kind of demographic who you want to kind of reach and just make sure you give them better life chances. And I think when I left teaching, part of the mission was to try and sort of grab those children and say, you know, there's another way, and I want to help you want to help you kind of improve your, whether it's academics, your mindset, just that there's another way of, I suppose, experiencing education. But however, those families don't tend to go out and find tuition because they're not able to. And so equity was part of it for me. It's like, how can I, if we're going to go down the one to many route, does it mean I can reach these people, and can I do it in a way that, one, it's supportive, but also in a way where it still supports the growth of the business, and it just makes a bigger impact. And it did do that for me. It definitely One to Many did help that. I've found out other things along the way about those kind of children and those families, and there's other ways of supporting them, not just through tuition. But it made me look at my business completely differently. One of the things I really struggled with right at the start, like in my business before One to Many, was the monetization of my expertise. Like I didn't know how to package it up and sell it. Like I knew I could do the teaching, and I knew I could connect with parents, and I knew I could definitely support the academics and the mindset for children. But I had no idea how to sort of put that out there and make that work. So I think even outside of that passive income approach, it really supported me with that. And I think once you have that skill, no one can take that away from you. That will work with whatever you're going to do going forward, which I think is really key. Like because that's something which I've taken forward into other businesses and other projects. And so it's not just been about the tuition. It's been about just growing the reach and supporting in other ways, but still carrying around that kind of business mindset. So, I mean, I could talk about like the tech setup. I could talk about the idea of how we launch, the growth of an audience, all of these things that have kind of meant that I can achieve what I've achieved so far. Yeah. But it's almost like they're they are important, but not as important as the monetization thing, that actually all the jigsaw pieces fit together for you. And at the end, it doesn't matter if you pivot your idea. It doesn't matter what the idea is anymore. It's almost like secondary to anything else, is that you know how to take whatever your idea is and move it forward. That's what I got out of it. That I don't know whether that's what I wanted to get out of it, but that is what I got out of it.
It's so interesting that you say that, because so many people won't put themselves forward into this process because they haven't nailed down their big idea. They sort of not knowing what they're going to do yet. And I agree in the sense of it kind of doesn't matter, in the sense of what it's going to teach you is how to build an audience and grow a business and take any idea that you've got and monetize it and make opportunities where you would never have previously seen them. I think what all of us come out of One to Many with, and I don't want to speak for anybody else, so apologies if I do, is just the way of seeing new opportunities, like to monetize things that you would never have previously done before. That's what I found. Jen, let me come to you. What would you say? You've got to think back now. You've got to think back. Was there anything that when you were in either the challenge or before you came into the process that you thought, I am never going to be able to do that? Something that you thought, like, it could be something like going live or doing a launch, or like, is it anything that you saw other people doing thinking, I'm never going to be able to do that?
I think there was two things for me. One was, and it was one of the things I really wanted to get out of One to Many, was as the founder of the International Day of Consent, I have a messaging problem, because the minute I say the word consent, people think I'm talking about either sex education or data compliance, ticky boxes and like that stuff. And I'm not talking about either of those things. Those are part of it. They're examples of places that you can practice consent. But what I'm trying to talk about is how people use their personal agency to make choices and make decisions for themselves and have the life that they want, and also in relation to each other, shape the world we all need. It's that old thing of be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Right. That's what my work is about. And so I was coming into One to Many kind of going, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I really hope I'm going to find a way to say that, and find a way to sell that. And there's the other bit of the thing that I was uncomfortable about coming into One to Many, was selling. I am from the not-for-profit background. I'm an anti-capitalist weirdo through and through. And the idea of being a business person was just really like, I'm not sure about this. And a lot of the talk in the group as well was like, make millions, and I was like, I don't want to be a millionaire. I don't know if this is for me. That I'm not motivated by some of the lovely prizes that Lisa offers. Are just like not really me, But I chatted with the lovely Heidi Maver, who's another alumni of One to Many, about that, and about how you can run a purpose-led business, and you need to be resourced. You need to be financially stable, otherwise you just burn out. And so it's amazing, because over the course of that process of doing One to Many and refining my ideas and working out what that message is and getting comfortable with selling, in other words, offering what I know and what my expertise is to the world, I've now arrived at a place where what I'm actually doing mostly is supporting other business people who are uncomfortable with that, supporting people who are coming from a values-driven, purpose-led, not-for-profit, want to change the world kind of a place, to use these techniques that Lisa teaches to change the world. And to earn a decent living while you're doing it, because you can do both. Yes.
You can do both. And there's comments coming through about how this is going to resonate with a lot of people. So thank you for that, Jen. Katie, same question to you. Was there anything that you thought, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do that? And obviously, from a network marketing background, you might have been exposed to maybe some more of these things than perhaps Jen had been exposed to. I remember in my network marketing days, gosh, we're going back to 2000 and I want to say 13. I was very much I learned a lot in that about how to run an online business myself. So yeah, was there anything that you sort of thought, I won't be able to do that?
I think my main things are, and what I love to say about a network marketing business is essentially it gives you all the tools, like all the web stuff's done, all the tech, and it's tech that I just, honestly, just makes me want to kind of melt down. The kind of going out, the talking to people, all that stuff. I feel really, really comfortable about. I knew it would be the tech that would literally stop me from doing this in terms of taking my idea forward. And so, the course is really good for doing that in terms of taking me through the process. And there was part of it when it got very techy about kind of emails and background stuff. I knew I was just like, do you know what? I just switch off in that. And I almost knew straight away then, do you know what I'm going to do is I will probably outsource parts of it.
Yeah.
The thing is, what I'm going to do is go through the process so at least I understand it, because I think as like anybody who's got your own business, it's like understand the process. But if that isn't your skill set, I think run with your strengths and then ask for help where that bit that you and especially if you don't enjoy it, honestly, because anytime I got to kind of sit and do some tech bit, I was just like, oh, right, what else could I do? I'll take some pictures, or I'll call somebody, or, you know, I'll do an Instagram post. I'll literally do anything apart from that bit. And so that is actually what I kind of did. You know, eventually I think I put a post out one day and just said, does anybody like doing this kind of thing? And somebody said, you know, somebody that I knew said she did. And I was like, perfect, because she understood what I was trying to do. She really, you know, she liked the project, which was kind of important to me. She's like, this is really nice. And she said, yeah, I love doing that. So she's done my like flow desk, you know, bits and whatever. I can just kind of brief her on, this is what I think I need. And she'd also help a bit with organizing timings and, you know, stuff like that. But I find that really, you know, that really helpful. But going through the actual process, you know, with OTM, you know, made me understand it all.
And Richard, for you, was there anything that you massively surprised yourself with, something that you thought, I'm not going to be able to do that, but you did?
I think it probably similar, actually. Some of the tech stuff was really new to me. I've done a little bit of digital marketing with another company when I left teaching the first year. And so there was a little bit of experience, but I'd never done it for myself, and all the systems were set up. I think that was one of the big attractions, because I knew that was something which we would need to do as a business, was to grow an audience and capture people's email addresses through lead magnets and things. And all of this stuff was so foreign to me when I first started doing the process. Like it was spoken about in the challenge, and then when I signed up, it was obviously a big part of it, and I had no idea how to set that all up. And this was pre-funnel sketches when I did it as well. So we had, like, Kerry was designing the WordPress like capture and the form collecting, and then the thank you page. I mean, thank goodness, because I had no idea how all of that stuff worked. And I think, like what Katie was saying there is really true, is that it is that community as well. And I think, like, me bringing in like my expertise, which is I want to teach and I want to connect with parents, but I don't necessarily want to spend hours and hours and hours setting up all the admin stuff, because I couldn't think of anything worse. There's people, the flip side of that, who would love to do that side and are really good at it. And they're the ones who actually sort of the cogs of the business that help it push forward. And I think that is like almost like the hidden benefit. We do talk about it. I know we do talk about it in OTM, but it is like that added benefit. Like, you've got experts everywhere, like left and right of you. So like the accountability groups or the accountability sessions, or just the live sessions themselves where people are sharing. And when you get stuck, there is somebody there that will reach out and help you. So whenever I got stuck on anything, there was always somebody to turn to, and it just worked.
Somebody's saying here, Kerry is insanely helpful with the tech throughout the course. And then they've said it's all included in case anybody is worrying about paying extra. So yeah, when you come into one-to-many, there is like a funnel template that you were going to be shown, and you're going to be given lots of training and support of how that all works. So like Katie says, you get that understanding of how these things work. But the tech support is absolutely phenomenal. That is in one-to-many when it comes to Kerry is just like, she's just amazing. So yeah, please don't worry about that. Okay, Jen, coming back to you, tell me something that you loved about one-to-many. Tell me something that, like, a part of the program that you were like, this is a bit of me.
I mean, I think Richard just talked about community, and that's really been a massive part of it for me, was being part of that ongoing support group and all of the connections that you made. Because what I didn't really realize, I thought that the business world, as again coming in as an outsider, would be really competitive and everyone trying to get one up on someone else. But you can see it in the Race to Recurring Revenue group, that actually people are building each other up and helping each other out. And so really it's the connections that I've got from one-to-many and the ideas and the people, some of whom have become like business buddies, you know, and that we're like sharing each other's freebies. And I ran a summit. I've had people taking part in my online summit, you know, like a whole range of different ways of connecting that have come through working in within the strategies that are taught in one-to-many. And I suppose fundamentally that is about the words one to many. You know, especially when you're someone who works in community activism and that sort of thing, you can be really isolated as an entrepreneur or as a person who's working on causes and purpose-led stuff. It can be really hard on your own. And those networks and that community that you're building in one-to-many and beyond one-to-many, that is just really what's been brilliant for me.
Lovely. And Katie, what about you? What is one thing that you sort of really found valuable as part of the programme?
I think for me, it's you know, maybe similar to others. You know, I love, you know, like Lisa, when she's like lifting people up into there is another way. You know, I think there's so many people who feel quite trapped in what they're doing, or they might love what they're doing, but you know, but they need to earn more money, or you know, there's just those kind of things. And I think when somebody can show you that there is another way, you know, I think that makes like so much difference to people, and then that has like a knock-on effect, because you know, I already say to friends, I've got so many friends who've got their own businesses. It doesn't mean that everybody's really profitable. They might love what they do, but it's like, you know, so even if, you know, I would say to people like, oh look, there's probably a way that you can do that and convert it, and you can kind of teach others, and you know, look at other opportunities. And I honestly think that's so important, because you need somebody who's done it before to be able to tell other people. And I think that's, you know, that's beauty things where you kind of like pass on that kind of gift to others, and you know, and say to people, it's okay to want to earn more money, and it is okay to be, you know, I think you should be smart with your time and not literally just exchanging, you know, time for money. And I think this shows you a way. And I think, you know, Richard mentioned it, it's like almost once you know it, you see how you can apply it to so many things. You know, mine was very much for, you know, my Preloved clothing business. Then I was like, right, this is Project Preloved, but you can see how it can apply to so many things. And it's like, oh, actually, like once I've got that skill, you're like, okay, what else could you do with it? And also, you know, I've got kids. I always want my kids to know that they can work for themselves. So I want them, you know, I feel like when I learn these things, I can pass those things on to them. So.
Love that. And Richard, is there an unexpected thing that you took away from one-to-many? You go in with certain expectations of what I suppose you're hoping to get out of it, but did you come out of it with something unexpected?
Oh yeah, completely, because there was such a, I want to say it was like quite fast, but it wasn't. Like there was a lot of work in the audience building part. For the tuition, it changed it overnight in terms of how I packaged it up, and it went from something that was part-time into full-time, but working part-time hours. So that was not rapid, but with a caveat that I had been doing it for a while, so it wasn't brand new. But my idea that came out of one-to-many about 6 months after I finished was to support tutors. That took a little while to grow, and it was still the supportive network. So there were people that I met along the way who I knew were experts in certain things. Like, for example, seeing Zoe McKeown's name, who's a former teacher as well. She was an expert in audience growth, an example. So when my group had like 100 people in it, I entered Zoe's membership. She came in, she gave me an audit. She was like, this is what you need to be doing. We're now at over 11,000 people in there. And so it's like, going back to community, but it's like, it's not just, it is the community, but it's the experts that live within it. And there's just people there who can, in 20 minutes, like, so I'm going to give Zoe another shout out, a 20-minute voice note, which I often go back and listen to, which is about 18 months old now. Like that 20 minutes made such a difference to the growth of the group and how I showed up, and then what happened afterwards. So the unexpected stuff that happens, I mean, my story's insane, like where it's gone from where I was 3 years ago to where it is now. And it's because of the work that you have to put in, but you need to know like what to do to make all these things happen. And if you sat there like, I don't know what to do next, as we all are, to have someone who's done it before, to have someone who's an expert in something else come in and have eyes on your business, and it doesn't cost you a lot, you're ready. You can just go and take the next step. And with a little bit more trust, as if because you could just keep winging it. You could keep doing a free challenge after free challenge, reading the books. That's what I did for years before I actually trusted myself. What I needed to do was invest emotionally and financially so I could take the action afterwards. That's what really helped me grow. And there are so many unexpected things, but I think that as an overall is those connections with other people who are experts in these specific things in their own right, can just come in and go, do this, do this, do this. You're like, oh yeah, it makes so obvious when someone says it. And again, no one can take that away from you. You can just use it over and over again.
I love that so much. I'm like beaming from ear to ear because I just love that so much. And for those listening to this, wondering, who's this Zoe? Who is this amazing Zoe that he's talking about? See Zoe's name popping up in the comments. She is there. And Zoe is part of your support team. Zoe is part of Team Lisa Johnson. I'm very, very lucky that I get to work alongside Zoe every single day. And this is what Richard is saying. The people that are going to surround you, put their arms around you and support you through this process are not just there as team members, but are there as experts as well, experts in their own right, really talented, wonderful business people that know how to help you. And the program is just absolutely full of that. But not everything runs smoothly. Not everything goes great. Some things are a challenge, right? So let's take a little look at that. Jen, if you don't mind, I'm going to come to you. Yep. Did you find anything particularly difficult, particularly challenging? Let's look at some of those things.
I think, as Richard just said, the time and energy and focus that it takes to grow your audience.
Yes.
I think a lot of people underestimate that. They think that they'll be able to put a few Facebook posts out and it'll magically happen. And that is what happens, but it doesn't sort of magically happen overnight. There's a lot of work to do to build those relationships and make those connections. Business is about relationships, just like anything else is. And people aren't going to buy from you just from having seen one Facebook post. You're going to be, bringing them in. You're going to be nurturing through your email list. You're going to be getting your messaging right. Sorry, I've got a boiled sweet in my mouth. For me, one of the challenges was that I've pivoted my message a little bit along the way. And One-to-Many's been great at helping me to recognize when I've pivoted what it is I'm doing and the message that goes with it. It's that thing that Lisa says of sell the sizzle, not the sausage. I'm not selling sausages. I'm a vegetarian. I'm not selling sausages, but it is that getting that, understanding that messaging of you're not telling people what's wrong with them or telling people about how clever you are. And, so I've got a framework called the Consent Compass. And it's brilliant. My Consent Compass is brilliant. But if I go, I've got a brilliant framework called the Consent Compass, nobody understands what that is. Yeah. Whereas if I say, I can help you with your people pleasing, or I can help you with your mindset around money and asking for payment for your services, or I can help you not be doing sales pitches that feel icky and pushy to you because I've got this consent stuff that's here to do it with. So it's about that. And I think that's where I've had challenges, and I'm only just really getting into my groove now with this is what I do, this is what I can offer, this is what I think I'm much clearer now than I was even 3 or 4 months ago, and I'm starting to see the results now.
Good. And Katie, same question to you. So we've already established not feeling the tech, going to outsource that, get that off the to-do list. And I'm right there with you. Having an understanding of it is one thing, finding any enjoyment in doing it, or do I think that's the best use of my time? Absolutely not. But aside from that, was there any part of the process that you found particularly difficult or particularly challenging? I think what I want to establish is, well, to help others understand that we're not saying that something's going to magically happen overnight for you. We're not saying that this process is always going to be easy, and we're definitely not saying that this is going to happen super quickly. And I think that these conversations allow you to realize what it is that you're actually, going to be doing, and it's work, right? Like, it's hard work.
Yeah, and I think probably for me it was about time and time management, because I felt at the beginning of last year I was busy but not necessarily productive. So I had my network marketing business, it was kind of ticking along, that was fine. I was still kind of knee deep in actually physically selling clothes, and I was also chair of the PTA, which is something I want to be able to like volunteer my time, something I was passionate about. But I'd done it for 2 years, and actually it was when I decided to invest, in this, and it is an investment. I hadn't planned it as an outgoing. I spoke to my husband. It wasn't like, oh, here's spare cash to pay for it. It was, look, I can see what I can do here. This is smart. If, just trust, if I take this money, I know that I can, earn it back. And then I had to prioritize. I was like, right, this is 3 months, and I want to prioritize this. So, I did choose to step down as the chair of the PTA. I still had to kind of run it along, but by then I was like, look, I need to prioritize work. And I think then it was about saying, right, the lives are this day of the week, and I sit down, that is my evening. So my husband knew that, and he would sort the kids that night, and stuff. And I think even if you can't join the lives on the night they're on, it's like, what day of the week are you going to do the lives, and listen to the recording? So you make that window, because you would see people get a bit lost on the way, and then they're panicking that they're behind. And you've got to let that mindset go. It's just like, you're not behind anything, that, there's no like competition, there's no kind of race, but it is helpful if you can try to do it in real time, because otherwise you do have that feeling. And I think it's about just giving yourself like permission to prioritize it. You've invested in it, and I think when you do invest money in something, it's just like, actually it makes you focus a little bit. And so whatever's going on in life, it's like, okay, what can I drop, what can I deprioritize just for this period of time that lets me kind of get ahead and moving? Because once you've done it, then you're kind of ready to go at some point.
Richard, what would you say to, I was going to say to people looking at signing up, but I'm not going to. I'm going to flip this a little bit. What would you say to the people who had signed up to go into one-to-many, to give them sort of, to pass your wisdom forward as to how they should approach it?
Okay. I would say beware of comparisons, because there will be some people who will, by week 3 or week 4 of the course, have made the money back. And you can look at it and go, oh my gosh, again, like what Katie said, I'm so far behind. And the reality is very different. I'm in a very privileged place where I speak to a lot of tuition business owners, and the one thing that comes through from the ones who have kind of consider themselves successful is that there's often a story behind the success that is often hidden. And like a bit like I was saying with my one, like when I did one-to-many and it kind of took it to the next level, that wasn't, but I didn't just start with one-to-many. There was something there to grow and push from. And it's really easy to get caught up in like comparing yourselves to somebody else's journey. So patience is absolutely key. And understanding where you are at as a business owner and where your journey is, rather than with comparing to others. I would also say, if you are new, and this won't be for everybody, but I think it will be for at least some, is that working through that money mindset of that scarcity and abundance, because this was brand new to me. Like when I came into one-to-many, it was the first time I've ever invested in myself. And I did it in secret, didn't tell anybody, because it was a lot of money. I didn't tell anybody until afterwards. I asked for forgiveness, right? And like I still look back and think, well, you probably did that a year too early, but also you had to do it then, otherwise you probably would never have done it. And it's very easy to get caught up in the, oh my God, I spent £1,000 or I spent £2,000, and actually you haven't really. What you've done is you've unlocked a skill that's going to allow you to make 5 figures monthly, if not 6 figures monthly. And that's what you're really investing in. And so it's been really like honest with yourself that, okay, that's the possibility, but it's not going to happen in 4 weeks for everybody. It will for some. But that's because they've got a previous story that's led them to that point. So it's being really, I suppose, really aware, self-aware of where you're starting from, knowing that it's a long game. It's a game that never ends, and there are no winners, there are no losers. You just have to just keep going, And if you're passionate about it, and if it's that thing, right, it's your thing, you will find that perseverance, because that's how we find success. So I know there's a lot kind of wrapped in all of that, but essentially, yeah, abundance mindset, absolutely key. Being self-aware of where your journey's starting, and just avoid that comparison, because it could be a huge block.
Richard, that was so wonderful. I feel like we just need to give you a little bit of a paid position on the inside of the programme, so that when we get everybody started, we sort of hand you a microphone.
Okay.
Just do that again for us on the inside.
I've already forgotten what I've said, but that's fine.
It's okay. I'll give you the transcript to this, and then you can just read it off a script, okay? That was just bloody wonderful. Jen, slightly different question for you. We have got some wonderfully fabulous neurodivergent business owners that are going to be going into this program, that are going to be feeling it very quickly in all of the ways. What advice would you give to fabulous neurodivergent business owners to sort of help them settle in to the process?
Yeah. And owning my fabulous neurodivergence, ADHD. Yeah, probably autistic too. Don't know. Who cares about diagnosis? I would say, don't be afraid to be your complete and utter authentic self. Lean into it, because if you try to fit in and be all like everybody else, because that's what successful people do, A, you'll burn out, and B, you'll lose the one thing that you've got that nobody else has got, which is your unique, brilliant rainbow brain or awesomeness. So be completely yourself. I would also say, really, really look after your spoons, your energy, your time. If you're ADHD, you're in new shiny object syndrome, huge right now, and it's the most exciting thing, and you've just spent loads of money on it, and woo! Take your time. Make sure you're doing the things that you need to do to look after yourself. Make sure you've got your support networks working. Look for the other neurodivergent people in the network in OTM, because there will be loads of them, because there's something about neurodivergence and entrepreneurialism. There's a load of respect. So connect with that community, connect with people who are alumni like myself and Heidi and some of the others that at Maddie. There's lots of other people who've been on OTM who are working in business now who can offer support. And just breathe, don't panic, take your time, but totally be yourself. Be irregular. Be wibbly wobbly, woodly woodly.
And Katie, one final question, and I'm going to ask this to you, and this is coming from the chat now. What advice would you give to me to encourage me to sign up? This person hasn't got an audience yet either.
I think just be just really open-minded. I think the beauty of this, it can work for anybody, and you need to kind of trust that process. You know, I did come in kind of with a problem solved, but I didn't know how that was going to unravel. I literally took the advice, okay, just go through the process, trust it, and something will come of that. And I think it's the trusting that it can work for anybody. And everybody, you know, I'm always a believer, everybody has something that they know or have experience in, or you know, a story to share that somebody else can kind of learn from, and you might not actually know what that is yet. And sometimes I love things like this for just the kind of personal development of it. It's like you will learn so much about yourself in it, and then you will have that light bulb moment. You'll be like, this is my thing that I need to share with people. And I think it's nice when you realize what it is.
Thank you so much. I want to thank each and every one of you for being on this Lunch and Learn with me today. Your contributions have been absolutely invaluable, and myself and all of the team wish you every onward success with everything that you are doing with your knowledge from OTM. I'm just going to gently remove you out whilst I say goodbye to everybody else, just so you don't have to sit there like a mannequin smiling, okay? So there we go, removing everybody. Thank you for joining us on this Lunch and Learn. It's been wonderful to spend this time with you this afternoon. I'm wishing you a lovely weekend, but I do want to remind you, more success story interviews are going to be playing for you, just so you can keep on checking out the different people and the different businesses that have gone through One to Many. But also, if you're still sitting there sort of feeling a little bit lost, a bit unsure of, is this idea going to work? Like, what even is my idea? There is another big ideas workshop that is going to be held on Sunday at 8 p.m, which is there to support you do just that. And if anybody is sitting firmly on the fence, which is hurting your bottom right now because you've been sitting on the fence for a few days, and you would like to chat to anybody about sort of, is this for you? Is this going to be right for you? Then please just comment and we will give you the link so you can have a chat with our past students and our team that can help you sort of make that decision. Right then, everybody, I'm going to love you and leave you. Take care and goodbye.